Hey guys, welcome to another webinar, an Ultimate Edge webinar with Bay Equity now, used to be Pacific One Mortgage. And today we have Angelique Tinney, who's a friend of mine and also the president of the REAPS organization in Seattle. And she does a great job with presenting real estate overview, mostly the Puget Sound, but also there'll be some national stuff in here. I saw her presentation just last night. It was excellent, as always. A little bit of housekeeping. We have a couple more webinars coming up. Well, we have a lot more webinars coming up. The next one will be, I believe, February 8th. Marion, do you have that date? I don't have it in front of me. We'll get you the exact date. That's going to be the one that was canceled in December, which is going to be with Anthony Iacobucci, and it's going to be credit repair and credit score optimization. A couple weeks later, we're going to have the head of our reverse mortgage department on, and he's going to talk about reverse mortgages. And we'll get those dates to you as well. So those of you who are on the webinar right now, you can use the chat box and ask any questions as you go through this. Angelique has a set presentation that she'll go through, and I'm sure it'll prompt some questions from you all. I may pause here now and then to ask a question that's relevant to a particular slide. And certainly at the end, we'll be able to get the questions to her and she can chat with us about that time. With that, so I've known Angelique now for a number of years. I've seen this presentation a number of times. I invited her to do it, and she was kind enough now to join us today for a presentation that's going to talk about all this real estate. Angelique has a very broad background. And Angelique, why don't you just share some of your background with us, please?
All right. Well, I actually started as a real estate agent right out of college in 1991. And I did that for about 10 years. And eventually I switched over to appraisals because I'm not as outgoing as a lot of real estate agents out there, a little more analytical. And I didn't like working the weekends and the nights as much as I should. So turned over to appraisal and did that for a number of years and ended up over time being a King County tax assessor and did the models and valuation for them on apartments was the end of my career with them. So I was doing all of King County apartments model building. And then when this job with the real estate association came up, I took it because I'd been a member of the club for over 20 years at that point. And I didn't really like getting up at 5:30 in the morning to go to my county job. So this job allows me more flexibility and to be able to do more real estate investing with more flexibility. So that's why I'm here now at this point.
That's excellent. A couple of things. Can you tell us a little bit more about the real estate stuff that you've done with real estate? I know it's been pretty diverse. And then tell the audience a little more about the REAPS organization, especially for our YouTube channel folks.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, I've got a couple of slides about that actually. So, okay. So the Real Estate Association that I belong to and am in charge of now, we provide over 50 events a year for real estate investors to learn from. The topics are varied and always different every time we teach and have an event, and they're all over the Puget Sound. So I've got a little bit more about that. Here's more about me. You were asking about my experience. I've done 9 flips and I've had a couple of rentals over time. I really gravitate towards Airbnb. I have 3 over time, and right now is probably about my 7th or 8th year being involved in Airbnb. I've done 1 short plat in King County, and that was a torturous experience that I wouldn't recommend. And I have built 1 new green home, and that was pretty cool. And I currently own a duplex that I rent out one side and Airbnb one side too. So I mean, I live in one side and rent out the other side, so as the Airbnb. And then there's my experience starting as an agent and changing over into appraisal and then commercial appraisal. And I've actually been a member of REAPS since the 90s, and off and on kind of in the early days, and then consistently actually about the last 20 years probably. All right. So
thank you.
Every month I do this market report for REAPS, and it's not that I'm an economist by any means. I'm just a real estate enthusiast that is always looking at the news from a perspective of what it means to real estate investors. So I just bring that information together to our members at the monthly meeting and do a briefing about that each time we have our main meeting in Bellevue. So a few of the next meetings we have coming up, we have contractor contracts with a lawyer, Scott Hildebrand. And then John helps run a meeting in the Everett location, and that one's going to be about building inspections and city rental inspections, which they now have in Tukwila, Burien, and Seattle. I'm not sure if other cities have those now too, but definitely those three. And then we'll have a meeting about multifamily, raising money through real estate syndication with the Seelys. So those, we have a lot of variety all the time. There's never the same topic twice in the year, hardly. So there's so much to learn in real estate and to know. And I'll show you more about that at the very end of the presentation. All right, so with REAPS, you can obviously make a lot of friends. A lot of the people within REAPS, I would say a lot of their friend base is actually other REAPS members, so that's really cool. And then we have industry discounts as well. So here into the presentation itself, I always start with unemployment because it all comes down to jobs at the very end of it. And we had the lowest unemployment ever, probably in the Puget Sound. Back in July, it was down to 2.5%, which is a rate that would actually cause inflation. Nationwide at that point, it was about 3.5%, statewide about 3.7%. So since the Fed has been raising the interest rates, which because of inflation, now we're up 4 points to 2.9%, which is still an inflationary kind of unemployment rate. So but nationwide, it's actually tempered the unemployment rate to about 4%, or 3.7 nationwide, 4% our state, which those are more the normal numbers that the Fed likes to see, I believe. So countrywide, we're kind of more in the realm that the Fed likes to see, from my understanding. So not an expert. I think in our area locally, we've heard so many layoffs just recently, and a lot of these layoffs have been since this number was put out for December. So we will start seeing a change in this unemployment rate in our area in particular, and then nationwide, there's been a lot of layoffs in the mortgage industry as well. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. So this is statewide. King County's got a stellar 2.8 unemployment rate, and Snohomish just behind it at 3.2. But I do this chart every month, and we had pretty low unemployment rates in a lot of parts of the state, and now those rates are starting to climb up, with Yakima standing out at a 8.8 unemployment rate. So that is not cool for that region right there. So there is a little bit more concern in other parts of the state right now. So rents in general, for the first probably 10 slides I'm going to show is national data, most of it from Redfin. And these are nationwide rents, and rents have been climbing since the beginning of the pandemic quite a bit. Just started tapering off more recently, with the average rent nationwide about $2,000 a month. So we are seeing an easing back of the acceleration of rental rates, but definitely still way up compared to where it has been. And so this kind of sums up what I was just saying. Rent growth slowed for the 7th straight month in December. So Zillow showing us here kind of a perspective of year over year and just the last month's rent changes. And over this last month, a lot of rents were decreasing, but year over year, at this point, rates are still a lot higher for rent than they had been at the beginning of the year. By actually, the national average is about 4.8%, with the average rent about $19.80 a month. In the Seattle area, we've gone up 2.5% overall on the year, with an average of $2,800 a month. Some standout different locations that are really seeing changes in rents. Salt Lake City has, I don't know how, but gone up 29% in a year. It's just crazy. I don't know how that would happen, but it did apparently. Raleigh's right behind at 24%, and Indianapolis at 16%, and Cleveland at 14%, Nashville 11%. So Charlotte's at 10%, Buffalo almost 10%, Kansas City almost at 10%. So there's some pretty good numbers. Some of those places are lower priced areas, so it'd be pretty easy to do a large percent change. For areas coming down, we actually have Minneapolis coming down and Oklahoma City. Phoenix is starting to come down and Houston's starting to come down within Milwaukee. So Chicago a little bit. So we'll see what happens out there. Still, kind of zigging and zagging right now with the changes in the economy on different areas. So this is what I mentioned before, that they definitely, the Fed, because of the inflation going up so quickly, has really set out to tamper that and bring it back towards the norm. So they are all out setting out a housing correction. So there's a lot of people being impacted right now. It's very unfortunate. My mom is one of them that was selling a really, not the highest end house, but a nice high end house, and got stuck. So there's lots of people out there that have been really caught in this, and the people that now can't buy because of the difference in the interest rates. So we have never had interest rates go up before, that doubling in 1 year. And although the rates are relatively low historically, I mean, when I got in the business, a lot of the rates were 8%, and that was good. So we're still way under that, but home prices were so much lower at that point. So this is a huge impact. And I've got more slides to show that impact. So here we are, current rates about 6.15, the 15 years about 5.3 currently. Rates have come down a little bit recently. I think the peak was in November. Does that sound right, John?
That sounds about right. Yep, and we have seen them decline a little bit.
Okay, and then I've heard that there's a little bit of refinancing going on right now. Is that right?
Yeah, mostly debt consolidation, because people accumulated a fair amount of credit card debt, and so they want to take care of it with all that equity that they now have in homes.
Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering why people were refining at 6% when most of the nation has lower rates, right?
Yeah.
But that makes sense. Okay.
It's hard to give up that 2.75% rate, there's no doubt.
Yes, yes. And so here's an illustration of the payments rising so much. The slide's a few months old, but shows the impact of what the interest rate changes have done for us, to us. So, here we had the median mortgage nationwide. Doesn't have the exact number on that, but looks like more like 1,600, and now it's gone up to about 2,500. So it's $1,000 a month. Huge difference.
Right.
So this is a kind of cause and effect from that. This was a slide showing the affordability index, I believe, and just showing how wages have gone up some, that's the red line, and then housing prices, just shooting up because of the interest rate, the affordability rate because of the interest rates. And then Black Knight, who studies the mortgage market, says we would need about 40% income growth to be able to afford the homes we were just affording. So obviously that's not going to happen quickly. So, either there's three things that can happen as far as I see it. Tell me if I'm wrong, John, that could be more. Obviously incomes could go up over time. Home prices can come down, or the interest rates come down. Those are the only factors I see. How about you?
That's kind of a mixture of that. And, the problem with that is income is going up. It's one of the inflationary factors that's driving inflation and driving the Fed crazy. But yeah, if you're going to afford a house, what else you can do? You either need more income or a lower rate or lower purchase price, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the triad of those. This is an interesting chart I just got from Freddie Mac that shows the impact of how many people are knocked out of being able to buy right now because of the change of rates. So I'm going to stick with the highest one that they give example of, which is not even high compared to our area. The highest one that they give is $600,000 mortgage. And at that time, about 3%, about 14 million people could afford a home at the 3% rate. That was 600,000. But now at the 6% rate, only about 5 million people can afford that same home. And, we've got, so that's our population basically here, right?
Yeah, 2/3 of the people have been knocked out at that particular price. It's impactful.
Yeah, and so, San Fran and these different places. Of course, there's people in the middle of the country that make a lot of money too. So proportionally, the people here that can afford it's even less than that, right?
Yeah.
So, and then verbally, this is kind of a description of what that chart was trying to say. For the $400,000 example, about 26 million people could afford to buy a home at a $400,000 price point, and now at between the 6 and 7% interest rate, only about 13, 14 million can afford. So that's about half. So that's kind of what they're describing in this chart. So pretty interesting and how impactful it is right now. So this is a chart of from Zillow with just the last month's change in housing prices. So Milwaukee still managed to go up 1%, and Birmingham, Alabama, a couple other places have gone up a little bit. And then we go to the markets that have gone down. And Seattle has stood out as the hugest leader, going down almost 5% month over month. So we are leading the country like nobody's business, with Texas and Dallas and San Antonio, and then San Diego and Austin behind there, Salt Lake City, which is surprising since they had the huge rent increases. Okay.
Well, so Angelique, I'm guessing Seattle's decrease has something to do with Seattle's increase. Is that true? Seattle was one of the largest increases in appreciation in the last couple of 3 years.
Oh, that's so true. And then for a long time, Colorado area and Seattle were the standouts in price appreciation. For a while, Portland and Tacoma were really standing out as well.
Right.
Yeah. So these are some slides that I actually captured from, so I copped them from a presentation I just saw recently. Our association, REAPS, is an affiliate of the National Real Estate Investor Association. So they were having a webinar about this, and Eddie Speed was the speaker, and he is in the note industry, buys and sells notes, mortgage notes. And he is probably one of the bigger ones that does that in the country. And he has a lot of connection with the mortgage industry. A lot of people that work for him are former mortgage industry kind of people. And so the next few slides are going to be something that he was showing that are unique slides. So John, have you seen this kind of slide before, or this index before, the Mortgage Bankers Association mortgage credit availability?
Possibly, Angelique, but it looks kind of unique and new to me, so I don't recognize it from.
Okay, so this is the first time I've seen it. So I can't explain this index very well, but obviously they're trying to relay how much proportion of the people can afford things, and they had it up to 180 kind of threshold, and now they have dropped it down to 100. So not quite a 50% decrease, but that's quite a bit of people that are being impacted. And down below is the quote I had from Black Knight before, kind of backing that up with, we need a 40% income growth. So.
And they're calling that normal affordability up there. That's interesting to me. I'd have to explore that a little more. Is that what he means? That the Walden guy that has you need 40% income growth to get back to normal affordability? Is normal up in the 180 range?
Yeah, if you look at affordability is obviously one of the biggest impacts to housing prices. If you take like the mortgage rates and the median income of an area and do the calculation on that, it's like you were qualifying somebody for a mortgage, I think they take the average of that over time. So what are the rates right now? What are the median incomes and what people can afford? And the threshold of what normal affordability is, probably by your qualifying ratios, is probably in that realm, right?
Okay, got it.
So this was just, him relaying the news announcement that Wells Fargo, who was the #1 player in mortgage, has decided to step back in a big way, and they are only going to service existing customers with significant, wealth probably. and actually still contributing to the minority communities. And they used to buy mortgages from other organizations as well to add to their portfolio, and they're going to stop doing that. They're laying off 14,000 people. So there's going to be the ripple effect from this mortgage change going through the economy. And there's so many mortgage companies being shuttered, and I'm sure you hear of way more than I do, John. So it's kind of scary.
This slide last night, and I was wondering, Angelique, did they say why Wells is backing off?
I didn't read deeply into the news about it, but I remember the last recession, Wells went conservative pretty quickly too. I remember hearing that. Maybe it wasn't even the recession, it might have been the one before that. But that stood out to me as a trigger when I heard that news. That I think they're a little conservative on it, probably.
Okay.
Just guesses. What do I know? I'm just watching the news, right? So this is a summary of.
Before we catch into this slide here, I know mortgage originations have certainly reduced, but the loans that we have done since 2008, if you were to ask anybody who went through the mortgage process, would tell you they're really good loans. I mean, I think the default rate is going to be very, very low comparatively. And I know Wells backed up before because it was a different market at that time. And we had conversations with them then, and they were just a little concerned. This market seems, although there's depreciation in certain areas, it seems like a more healthy market to me.
So this is just showing the impact of all the change lately. Mortgage originations in 2021, almost $5 trillion. So that would be refis and new purchases, I'm sure. And then how this last year it's basically almost cut in half. And then the projection for this year is about the same. So, half the people out there in the mortgage industry are being impacted pretty extreme.
Yeah.
Or base income being cut, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, right?
Yes.
And it's basically an industry that works off of what production happens, right?
Yeah, so I think what we're finding is the newbies are leaving. The people who have been here a little while don't have the expertise and perhaps the understanding of a market change and how to handle that are leaving. And you're seeing that, like you've been saying, mortgage companies are impacted by that hugely. I mean, volume's cut in half, so that's not nearly as big a pie for people.
And then a lot of the companies that are closing, are they ones that focused on refinances?
Well, certainly if you did focus on refinances, your business is gone right now. So that would be the case. Yeah. And purchases have dropped as well, too, with that affordability index that you were talking about. It's just a tough market.
Yeah, I get 3 phone calls a day asking me if I run a refinance. It's been going on for months now. It's so aggravating.
Gosh.
I don't know. I don't know if everybody else is experiencing this or not, or if I'm just been a target.
There's an 800 number I can give you to stop those calls from coming if you want, Angela. Just let me know.
I would love that. Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, maybe you should give it to everybody.
Yeah. I'll put it on our YouTube video, guys. If you're there, I don't have it with me right now, but I'll send it to you, Angela.
All right. So this is his comment about home flipping. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that got caught in the change. And overall, they're saying profits on flips are down about 18%, and there's about 8% less flips going on right now. And then this is obviously a picture of the last foreclosure in the last recession. The beginning, the middle, the end is where he's got marked kind of where he wanted to point out that the foreclosures were stopped during the COVID era. So there's a lot of catching up on what can happen on foreclosures. So if you take a little box that he did in yellow and kind of put that over that area, that there was a cease in foreclosures, it's going to shoot up that arrow at the end to have a lot more foreclosures coming up. I don't know if that arrow is going to project up like he did there, but we are going to have some impact, that's for sure. I have seen a study by Zillow that Zillow feels like we can probably take in that inventory pretty easily into the market without it being a huge impact. So we will find out, right? That's the big question out there.
Yeah, it's the question. I would challenge his assumption though, because those people who have had homes in the last 5 years have huge amounts of equity in their home. So I don't see a default or foreclosure activity happening. Maybe selling if they can't afford for some reason, but I just can't see that there's a lot of foreclosures coming. I think there will be an increase, but maybe not what that arrow kind of indicates.
Right. I wouldn't think what the arrow indicates either. But yeah, a lot of people still have equity in their homes and can sell if they're proactive, but a lot of people that fall behind aren't proactive too. So
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. So pending sales, there has been just the slightest uptick just recently. So, this is the kind of average pending sale rate that went on for a long time. And then we had the craziness when everything shut down from the pandemic, and then everything spiked and then coming back down again to lower levels than we're used to. They're saying that the marketing is definitely slow at this time of year, but they're starting to see more searches on Redfin just more recently. I think a lot of people after the holidays start searching, and also the seasonality plays a lot into it too. I'll talk about seasonality in a few minutes in the end. So this is a study by Redfin, and this is home shoppers on Redfin. When somebody writes an offer to buy a house with one of their agents, this is the competition level they're seeing out there with multiple bids occurring. So 1 year ago, almost about 70% of the homes were having multiple bids nationwide and locally. And so across the country, we still have about 42% of the homes that are getting multiple bids. But in Seattle here, we're only down to 25%. So a big difference. And that was even before, and there's definitely rumors and things happening in the tech before recently, but there's a lot more just recently. So it's going to be changing for that too. Time on the market, the nationwide average is up to about 44 days right now. That's not outrageous nationwide compared to normal, but way different than what it's been lately, where it was down to 15 days or so.
Yeah.
Right now, the average house is selling for about 98% of the list price, so about 2% down. That's pretty normal compared to historical market. Just a lot lower than where we've been lately, where people are getting bid up and a lot of times 3 or 7 or whatever above the list price, right?
Yeah.
And then are you seeing a lot more people getting concessions on their negotiations for paying closing costs and different things like that too, right? And that's not showing in this
we are,
number,
especially
right?
when you educate buyers and sellers that the seller can pay for a 2-1 buy down or a 3-2-1 buy down, and how that can benefit both of them. And it's much better than a price reduction or maybe a permanent rate to buy down. So sellers are considering that now once they know the impact.
And from what I hear, there's probably a lot more of that going on than ever before. And that those numbers are kind of hidden and not showing in this number right here.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So this is a different graphic of the competition out there, how we were at 60, 70% of homes getting multiple bids, and now we're down to 42%. And
that's almost half though still, Angelique, 40-some%. That's more healthy than I thought it would be.
I know, I'm shocked too at this current point. Yeah. So still 23% of the homes are being sold over list price, which looks like about 20% was average before. So that's pretty normal. And then we have had a 12% increase nationwide in the inventory of homes available.
That's been needed. That's good.
Yeah. And I've got a slide later on that's interesting about that locally. So for those people that are out there house shopping and you get bid out on something or somebody gets there before you and you don't get that house you're really interested in. I always remember that, about 1 in 10 people don't end up buying that house they intended to. So whether they don't qualify for the mortgage, or they find something during their building inspection they don't like, or they lose their job, or they die, or something happens to them during that window that they're supposed to be closing the home. So normally 1 in 10. So always keep an eye on that property that you were interested in to see if it comes back on the market, or you put a backup offer in on it even.
That's a good moral to that story. Yeah.
And so, but the point of this slide here is that actually it's an elevated level right now of people backing out and getting cold feet or not qualifying for the home that they tried to. So it is up about 5%, even beyond normal right now, on people that don't qualify or end up not in their contract at the end. So as an overall, both buyers, ordinary buyers and investors are afraid to buy right now because they don't know where prices are going to end up in the end. No one wants to buy when it could keep going down. So that's kind of impacting the market a lot right now as well. So from here on forward, these are going to be local Puget Sound slides exclusively from our local MLS, and this is the median price in their area. And at the very top, I have a snippet of what happened in May. That was the very top of our market here. And it just is so weird to me, but funny that King County had a median sales price of exactly $1 million when it all flipped around. And at this moment, King is only at $820 for the median price. So we've actually decreased from the very tip top down $180,000.
Yeah.
So even though the market's only gone down, or even almost flat, I have all kinds of REAPS members trying to message me right now. I don't know if people are trying to get into this and can't or not, but so the market overall year over year is pretty much flat in King County. But if you bought at that high, you're hurting at this point if you need to get out of your property.
18% drop. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, so it's all different. People are going to be at all kinds of different levels. We were talking about people having equity in their homes and be able to sell if they needed to, but not these people. So everybody's going to have a little bit different story right now. So Snohomish County was at 815 at the top, is currently at 685, and that's a $131,000 decrease. Pierce at 585 and down to 500. That's 81,000. Kitsap County was at 550-ish and now down to 488, down about 65,000. So
basically between a 10% and an 18% decrease. That's pretty significant.
Wow, and that's over a 7-month period.
Right.
And I'm going to show you a slide at the very end that I like to point out that markets can change very quickly. And so here's an example of kind of how that can happen. So this is median price per square foot, and it's showing up about, and I should say down about 2.2% in King and Snohomish County year over year. Pierce down about 5%. Kitsap 3.6. So the per square foot kind of just reinforces the median price as another way to look at it to make sure that they're kind of in check with each other. Sometimes, some really expensive homes can sell in one area, like if it's Kitsap or even a smaller area, maybe a few multi-million-dollar houses can sell at one time and really impact how you look at things. So this is just another way to make sure they're kind of the same. Homes for sale, they've gone up quite a bit in King County, 144%. So in King County last year in December, we had about 1,300 homes on the market, and now we have about 3,300. So obviously an increase of quite a bit, but it's not huge compared to what you could expect for all that's gone on. And this is how much homes sell compared to their original list price or their last list price. So the top is the last list price when a home finally goes pending. They're usually down right now between, and Pierce is about par, and King is down about 2%. So a little bit off list, and then from original list price currently, overall in the market on average, we're down about 4 to 6% in the area. I expected those numbers to be a little bigger too from all the news, right?
Yeah, really.
So closed sales are down about 44% overall compared to last year. Pending sales are also down about 20 to 30% compared to last year. And new listings, ironically, are also down about 30%. And that's the thing that's kind of holding up this market, is that people are not listing their properties.
But, you know, Angelique, what those slides all show is the seasonality of that. All the previous years were down quite a bit at this time of year as well, it looked like.
Yeah, you can only compare exactly to this time last year because it is totally a seasonal market, and I'll show you that more on a slide later about our seasonality. So it's hard to look at these particular ones, but like 19, we had a spike of new listings come on the market, but then in 20 and 21, not as many people were out there selling. So it's interesting how things happen. So days on the market, last year we were down under a week of property selling so quick, and only 1 year ago. And now we're between 20 and 30 days on the market in this area on average for the homes that do sell. There are homes that get stuck not selling right now. And for those people, it does not feel like a seller's market. And we are actually, by this slide right here, still defined as a seller's market. But for a lot of people, it's not feeling like that right now.
Yeah,
so this particular slide, this particular slide is with the homes that are currently on the market. If we were to stop putting any new homes on the market, but we still had buyers buying at the same pace that they normally have been, we would be out of homes for sale in 1.3 to 2 months. So what the realtors and most people in the industry consider a balanced market of equal supply and demand is a 4 to 6 month supply. So we are well under that right now, still halfway below a balanced market at the moment. I do have a slide a little later, it's not quite yet, how things can change really quickly. But here back, you can see when we were coming out of the recession before, how much supply was on the market back then. To the left, we had 10 months supply in Kitsap County and 8 months supply in Pierce County at that time. So big difference.
Yeah, it really is. That's a very interesting slide. Puts it in perspective.
Mm-hmm. So this slide correlates to the last slide. This was a study done by Case Schiller, and it's saying if you have so much housing inventory available on the market, what does it do to the price of homes on average? So they're saying, historically, nationally, we probably do have an average of 4 to 6 months supply of homes for sale. So you can see that cluster of this 4 to 6 months here. And then what happens normally when we have that kind of balanced market, according to the experts, is the market usually goes up about 0.5% a month. So this kind of shows you can see the pattern of if there's only 2 months supply of homes on the market, they're going up 1.5% on average per month. Or if it's the other way and you've got 10 months of supply on the market, they're usually going down by about 1% on average. So I guess if you're an investor kind of strategizing, you can think about this slide and make projections from it if everything's going as normal at the time. I've never seen seen. Yeah, I've never seen this kind of information before when I saw this particular slide. So it was very interesting to see. Okay, so this is one that just shows, it's kind of hard to look at, but it shows how many months of supply is on the market compared to the appreciation or values of homes changing. And obviously, the more homes that are the market, the prices tend to go down and vice versa. So in the middle, you can see the last recession going there, where you have the months of supply of homes going up and the prices going down. So we've had the opposite lately, where we've had really low inventory of homes and the prices going up. So, but that can do that flip.
Fairly quickly.
And go the reverse too. So, okay, so this is actually just general kind of demographic kind of thing going on. So this was a couple months back. Redfin was talking about how so many people are moving to the suburbs because they're able to do remote work, and because of the prices being high with the new higher interest rates. So people are going to more affordable areas. And then also things like the stock market impacting people's budgets, and so people are choosing more affordable areas. So it's definitely changing where people are going. They're, a lot of times we're on the coastal areas before, and now they're going more inland to get more affordable.
Does it actually give you any areas here that they're going to, Angelique?
They were migration out of LA, New York, Washington, DC, and Boston. And some of those places like New York had gotten higher taxes as well. That they had implemented, but I probably cut off where people were migrating to the most, but probably Arizona and places like that, Texas and Florida.
Yeah, I think so. That
Florida,
the South where it's nice and yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think Miami is number one, but Texas and Florida really stand out. I'm sure Arizona's not far behind.
Yeah, I know the Phoenix area has benefited, or one way to say that, it has a lot of influx of people coming in from the West Coast.
That's true. That's true. And I actually have felt that in the REAPS membership. I had a lot of dear members move at the beginning of the pandemic or a few months in. They're like, I've had enough, and they're going to Arizona. So I lost at least 4 people I know of to going down there.
Wow.
So this is kind of reinforcing the more people are looking to relocate than any time before. From their records, it hits an all-time high, people looking to relocate from one area to another.
Yeah, we need to dig into this deeper, Angelique, so we can tell people where they're relocating to. If you're an investor, that would be really nice to know, wouldn't it?
That's true. So this is, I haven't researched this in the local area. This was nationwide comment that I believe it was Redfin made, that square footage is now more in the suburbs than in some cities because of people trying to get out of the cities and having more space to themselves and getting to more affordable areas. But it's actually jacked up those prices in the suburbs. So I can't believe that this price per square foot in Covington is going to be the same as downtown Seattle, but I haven't gone and looked to make sure.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. So definitely some parts of the country that's going on for them to have issued this. So I just thought it was interesting because I've never seen anything like that too.
Yeah, some interesting data here that I haven't seen before.
Yeah. So this one is about the millennials and how there is that bump of that age group that's coming through the housing market. And so, housing's influenced by demographic groups, and a lot of them kind of stayed home longer with their parents. The average age for moving out of the house for the first time, I think, is 26. And the average age for buying a new home or a home is 34. So that's the wave that's coming through the marketplace. So that's one thing that will hold up if the interest rates don't impact them too much.
Yeah, there is that.
So this is that one I was referring to a couple of times where I was saying things can change rather quickly. We used to have this blogger in Seattle, and he did this blog called Seattle Bubble. Later, he went on to work at Redfin as one of their market commentators. And so he's not doing his blog anymore, but he had some interesting stuff when he was doing it. So I kept this from when he was making comments about our local market. And so the slide's a little bit old at this point. It's about a year old. But what I like about this slide is it shows in that middle how quickly what was considered a balanced market, the 4 to 6 month supply of homes, how we just shot through that on each side, going up and down in the recessionary period. We just like flew through it. So at the moment, we're about a 2 month supply of homes, a little bit below that. If you were to take that chart to the right and kind of bring it to that next line up, that's where we'd be kind of. So if things start to slide and get a little hairy out there, I wouldn't be surprised if we just slide right through that balanced market again.
No, really. So I'm going to ask you your prediction at the end here. So we'll follow up on that. Okay.
Oh boy. Well, I'm not good at answering that because I thought the market was going to come down right about the time COVID happened, right before COVID. I thought that was the end of our market, and I sold a property that I had because of that, that I thought it was going to start slowing down at that point. Then COVID changed everything. So, and then changing the interest rates for COVID changed everything. So that's something I would have never dreamed in a million years. So this is seasonality of the market. And when I was new to real estate in the very beginning, I just could feel how the market would freeze in December. No phone calls were being made. Nothing was happening. If you're a real estate agent at that time, you might as well take the month off and just relax and enjoy it. And so then when I started seeing Zillow talk about seasonality, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so true. This is finally reinforces what I was thinking. And then, so then Zillow started coming out with this kind of data. And then this is John L. Scott doing a nice graph of it. And what tends to happen is every year it does slow down in the winter time. You know, I feel like it changes right about the same time as the daylight savings time. So as soon as it goes dark by 5 o'clock and it's rainy and wet outside, there's not people going out to house shop unless they're super motivated. And then as we go into the holidays, it goes pretty dormant. So that's at the end of the slide here. You can see how the market contracts and the number of listings go down, the sales go down during that period. And then we come around to the new year, and as soon as the holidays are over, people start getting more interested in getting out there, have a little bit more time on their hands, and start searching for homes. And then as soon as the weather warms up that you don't have to wear a jacket to be outside, I feel like that's when the market really starts picking up. And when you see those rhododendrons blooming, that's when there's a lot of house shoppers out there.
Look for the rhododendrons blooming. I like that, Angela.
Yes. Yes. So I feel like if you're a flipper, you can really time the market better if you're putting your house on the market right at that point. And it starts to slow down. Not that it slows down, but that momentum starts to slow down a little bit right about Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day in May. You can kind of feel a shift right then where people start to enjoy the summer, start to do more outside activities, and are focused on maybe doing other more fun things. And you can kind of feel that pace slow down. But we still have activity happening during the summer. The people are getting their changes for kids going back to school and want to be in place by the school year. So all that's happening during that time. But if you've got your house on the market in July and August, things do start to slow down. And then in September every year, you'll see a lot of price reductions. The people have had their home on the market for the whole summer months, and then they haven't sold, that's when they'll start doing price reductions if they're motivated. So that's where you can start picking up better prices, but obviously you can get better prices in October, November, December if you're out there shopping at that point and can negotiate more. So, you know, my mother, she doesn't listen to me. You know how, you know, parents don't listen to the kids, right? So my mother was working on her house all summer to get it ready, and then finally puts it on the market in late summer, right? And, you know, I kept telling her, you got to put it on the market in the spring, and she doesn't listen to me. So it's, you know, you see it over and over again where this, if you flow with this, you can do way better than if you're fighting against it.
Absolutely true. So a question for you on this slide, Angelique. I don't see a key. First of all, is that a national flow, or is it seasonal, or is it a geographic at all? Do you know?
You know, I don't know that. John L. Scott tends to be more local company, but I don't know how broad they went on this.
Yeah, I wonder if the
I don't know
southern
how.
states have the same swing that the warm state, like Phoenix in the summertime, is like people are
Right.
out of there. And so
It's
I'm wondering if
almost
they,
reverse.
yeah, okay. And also those color codes, we don't have a key here. Is that home
Oh,
prices? Is that what that is?
I think that was different years. They were showing different years of data.
Oh, I get it. Okay, got it. So yeah, so it makes more sense. I get it.
Yeah. So they was just showing like 4 years of time at the time that I cut
Okay.
this slide from them. So this says 5-year span of relisting on the market, or resale listings on the market.
Okay. Well, it's very consistent over
Right.
the last 5 years, isn't it? And it
Yeah,
makes
and
sense.
even when
Everything you said.
everything, even when the market was super hot, you still have this pattern. But when the market was super, super hot, there was still activity going on in that late winter phase, which defied what I would expect. But it did happen, and but then obviously it slowed down again.
Yeah.
So my point of this as well that I haven't come to yet is we're coming back to that spring market again. So we will start seeing activity start to happen again. So it will be interesting to see what the balance is between the interest rate changes and the impacts of affordability and the people wanting to get out there and buy. So there will definitely be people, it's almost instinctual, I think, for people to want to go out there for housing in the spring. So we'll see what happens.
I think it'll happen the way you're predicting it's going to happen.
All right. So this is just a general, I made a presentation that I called The Wide World of Real Estate. And I was talking about all the different kinds of real estate strategies that are out there, all the different kinds of real estate you can invest in, how you can finance it, whether your money or other people's money, and the tax implications of things. I'm definitely not a tax expert by any means, but those were my interpretations of how taxes work. So and John actually helped me with this webinar, and he did the financing part of it. So he did a great job of filling that in. And I was amazed when I brainstormed. This is just me brainstorming. There could be more things out there, possibilities. But how many ways you can finance property with other people's money? It's pretty amazing. So this is why I love real estate, and this is why real estate has kept me interested in so long, my whole career. I get bored with things pretty quick, and this is why real estate has kept me engaged, because there's so many different aspects of it, so many different types, so many different ways that you can mix and match things to make things happen. And I'm learning things every day, and I've been in this industry my whole life. So it's amazing to me that that can happen. And with the market conditions and the tax changes and even technology changes, changing how things happen, or different companies making their way and making a cultural change in our real estate market. It's always interesting out there.
Totally. It's a great word for it, isn't it? And fun. And I have to tell you, Angelique, this is a whole seminar all in itself, that slide. So we may have to invite you back. And I watched Angelique give this seminar to some folks webinar when I did the financing portion. It's really interesting and deserves much more time than we can give it right now. So we might have to come back, Angelique, on this.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to intrigue people out there. If and maybe some people on here today are already experienced investors, but maybe some to how much possibility is out there. And yeah, we did a whole hour on this, which didn't even give any of that justice because we were just going quickly through each thing, what it was. But I just want to make sure people knew of all the options.
Very tantalizing slide you have there.
But that's why, so this is just a commentary that, you know, all this happening, when changes happen, people can take advantage of them and make a difference and make even a difference in their life. And recessions can make millionaires if you know how to work the situation and be educated or be in the right spot at the right time. So I'm hoping to be that person too. And one of our recent speakers, he's actually doing a seminar for us tomorrow all day at the Newcastle Golf Course. He was talking about how all the bad news, every time he hears bad news, he gets excited because he knows ways to make things happen in a down market, strategies you can use. Some listed a lot of the strategies on here where you can use lease options or foreclosures or seller financing subject to wraps. Though if you don't know what those words mean, get educated about them so you do. And that's what our organization is, basically a club for people to learn all these things with each other. So, and I do have a Habitat for Humanity event coming up February 18th. It's a Saturday in West Seattle. If you'd like to come join us and contribute on that, I would love to have people participate, anybody that wants to.
And Angelique, can you go back to that for a second?
Yeah.
Who is that person on the third level of that scaffold way up there? They look familiar.
In the middle, that was me. So, but yeah, when she told me, I want you to paint the underside of the fascia, I'm like, up there? She's like, yes, up there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to climb that. But I just like took a big breath and started climbing.
Right. So if you want some adventure, it's not just all about helping, which is wonderful in itself, but you're going to get a thrill and a rush out of it at the same time.
Yeah. So they don't make you do anything you don't want to do. I just kind of like, you know, I've done a lot of home improvement over my career for myself. And I'm like, I might as well learn something new. Just take a deep breath and do it.
Good for you.
But yeah, another time I helped lay flooring. So, and it's fun because, well, I think our REAPS members are wonderful. And so you get to spend the day on a team with another REAPS member, learning all about them, having fun chats while you're working away.
Absolutely.
So this is why people want to be involved with real estate investor associations. In particular, I'm so partial to REAPS. I love REAPS, but what you can do when you come together with other people and talk about real estate is obviously there's education and mastermind kind of stuff. And we bring in local and national speakers that are experts on the topics. And you can learn the recent changes, like me talking about all the changes that take place in the marketplace. There's tax law changes. We have tax attorney kind of people in our group. We have lawyers in our group that will talk about the rental law changes. Of course, a big part of our group is inspiration and camaraderie, being around like-minded people that aren't negative and say, yes, you can do this and you can make it happen and here's how you can do it. Networking and building your team with other professionals in the industry to help you. That's why, you know, John's here, right?
Right.
So finding money partners or business partners, you know, if you've got strengths in one area but weaknesses in another, you can find that offsetting person maybe out there. At REAPS in particular, we have Home Depot rebates and paint discounts. We have discounts at Sherwin-Williams and other national companies and local companies as well. We actually give a perk as a passport savings card that gives you 2-for-1 dining and also discounts at remodeling kind of stores that give you wholesale flooring prices and tile places and that kind of thing. So we're the center of information for real estate investors and networking. If you want to be a part of that kind of community, come to REAPS. We'd love to have you.
I can tell you guys, I've been a member of this REAPS organization for many years, and it's one of the, and I've seen other REAPS, but other real estate RIAs associations in different places. This is one of the better ones. What Angelique and the board does is attract national speakers that come here. They don't go a lot of other places. So you're going to get some really, really good national training from people who really know what they're doing. But like Angelique's saying, there's some local people here that are excellent at real estate and have some really good advice and lots of experience. It's a great place to interact and get motivated, as she's saying.
Mm-hmm. A lot of our members have been around 15 years, which is really cool. It's really cool to see everybody every month and catch up a little bit and hear what they're up to. And it's inspirational hearing what everybody's up to.
Yeah, I noticed by the meeting last night it's growing again. From COVID, of course, really took a toll on all kinds of organizations, but there was a lot of people there last night.
Yes, we had 100 people on the nose there last night.
All right.
I think this is my very last slide. Let me check just to make sure. Yes, that's it. That's it for me.
All right. You can unshare if you want, Angelique. Thank you so much for all that information. Let me see. I don't see any comments. Let me just check the chat thing. Guys, if you want to put any comments in the chat, now is the time. Be happy to answer. So Marion's helping me out. So February 8th is the credit repair, credit score optimization with Anthony Iacobucci. Dahlia says, Washington is a number 7 in migration into Seattle. I think I can't quite read all of that, Dahlia. Washington, number 7 out of 10 in migration in. I think that's what she's saying. So a lot of people coming into Seattle. Is that what that means? I believe.
Yeah, we've had big migration in. We've also had quite a building boom in the apartment category. And for a while, we were having the most cranes in the country almost. I think there might have been one place for a while. But
I believe it.
We had 65 cranes in the sky, and then Bellevue had cranes. And so, yeah, there was so much happening. And it'll be interesting to see if the tech layoffs reverse it at all, or people keep coming.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is an impact. There's no doubt. Angelique, there are some questions that we get the pleasure of asking you, especially our real estate investors that want to join us. One of them, I'm just going to start with where we left off from our medium conversation. Predictions for 2023. And you can focus on rates, you can focus on what's going to happen with real estate, whatever you think your particular expertise lends it to. What's your prediction for this coming year for real estate?
Well, you know rates better than me. What do you think on rates?
I think rates will be coming down. If you look back, guys, at recessionary periods, and as Angelique said, we are in a recession here. Or it maybe not has been defined exactly as recession yet, but we're edging on one and soon to be, I think. And if you look back at the last 7 recessions, rates have come down each time. And it kind of makes sense because it's really all about if the Fed gets a hold of inflation and around it, or if inflation starts reducing inflation, then you're going to see they'll be able to start doing other things with the tools they have to help battle the recessionary forces. And one of the things they're going to do is try to lower rates to do that. So my expectation is, and there's a lot of economic guys out there I follow that are kind of in the same boat here, that rates will be coming down the second to third quarter of the year somewhat. It's not going to be like it was. We're not going to hit the 2s and 3s. I don't think anybody thinks that, but probably 4s and 5s, somewhere in there, which is, much more affordable.
I would think the Fed would be very motivated to do that because there's no way they intended to have the impacts that they're having on people's lives right now. Businesses closing because of what they've done right now. So I don't think that they want to keep it that way. So I think that they'll taper it off and bring it back a little bit as soon as they can, as soon as they feel like inflation's kind of in check. So it also depends on the lenders out there. Lenders contract during a recession. And so how much lenders contract, how much money affordability is out there for the people that want it. So I said that a little bit wrong, but the opportunity for money. A lot of recessions kind of are impacted because of the contraction of the banks not willing to be lenders anymore. So if the banks are there for people and willing to lend, that makes a big difference compared to like Wells Fargo cramping down on people. So I think that's going to be a big factor in what we see is how much people can access money.
Yeah,
So
you need money.
Can flippers keep going, you know, and get loans and that kind of thing. So
yeah, that kind of money, alternative financing in particular. Of course, the other thing, guys, and we all know this, is we're an international community anymore, and there are things that are totally outside of the Fed's control and anybody's control, like a war in Ukraine that would erupt into something different that impacts these things. So it's really hard to predict because of stuff like that.
Yeah. The sun is just really coming out, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know you got some sunshine going around you. That's good to see.
Yeah. There we go. Now
there we go. Yeah, I can see better too. And see, I don't know if you can unshare. There's still the small slide on the screen. If you can do that, you can go ahead and do that. All right. So Angelique, another question for you while you're doing that. What's your favorite book or maybe seminar or class or something of that nature that you went, wow, that was really worth reading, being to, seeing, listening to, whatever, for real estate investors in particular?
Okay, so actually the speaker we had last night, John Burley, got excellent, huge ideas that are different, contrary to a lot of the market out there, where he brings private investors in to help him fund things. And he's like, you can buy as much real estate as you want if you have the private investors with you and on your side and having confidence in you. So you can basically buy unlimited real estate if you go with his strategy. His strategy for a lot of people was tough in this area with prices appreciating so much in Seattle. It's hard to get private money for $750,000, right? But if you're in a more affordable area, like John's part-time down in Arizona, maybe you can do that strategy a lot easier down there. You might be able to convince somebody to lend you $250,000 instead of $750,000 and actually do the strategies he's talking about. So in the more affordable markets, I really, really like his plan and how he approaches things. And he actually is doing a seminar for us tomorrow. And then George Antone has had a huge impact on my life. And he is somebody that we're bringing in to talk. Hopefully, we don't have it nailed down exactly, but we're tentative on March of this year. And he talks about finances. And I would consider him a financial genius, and he does things differently than any other person I know out there. And I have been a study of finance my whole life. I've always been interested in the stock market and different strategies. And he has taken strategies to a whole new level in different ways to make it so you can grow your wealth and be more stable about it. And he has books out there you can buy. He has Debt Millionaire and Hacking Finance and Growth Pair kind of stuff. And Wealthy Code is one of his books that talks about growth pairs. And so his strategies overall, from a financial perspective, are very, very powerful. And whether you get his books or come to a seminar, you really need to get the seminar, I think, to get the full effect. He has 3-day events that you can attend to give you an introduction. And then, of course, he has bigger packages that make you show you how you can actually implement and do things. So I've become a student of his 1.5 years ago and did the bigger package that he sells. And I've been implementing his strategies. And what's really cool is he used to just teach theory, and then after the class you're like, that was super cool, how do I go do that? But now he actually teaches you, this is how you can do it. These are the tools you can use. These are financial instruments you can use to make this happen. And he's not a financial advisor, so he can't tell you everything. He can't tell you, you should invest in XYZ, but he can kind of point you and guide you in the right direction so that you can make it happen. And that's really, really cool, is there so many things you go to learn. You don't know how to get over that hump and actually implement it, make it happen. In his program, you can, and you can see the difference it's making in your life eventually. So it does take time. You know, the overall strategy that I'm implementing through him will take about 6 years to all transpire, but by then I should be retired from the strategies that he's teaching me.
Well, cool.
So that's a big impact.
All right. So John Burley and George Anton, I've seen both those guys speak, and they are very impactful and very knowledgeable. And guess what? You can check them out at Reeves. Gotta like it. I have a question in the chat box from before my last question for you, Angelique. So Linda wants to know, as an assessor, how does the data you shared today influence your individual property assessment?
The assessor works off sales that have occurred in the last couple of years. So the assessor will go through all the sales that occur, see if the sales are market sales or there's something funky about the sale, like it was from one relative or another, so that's not really a market sale, or if it was a sale of just a part of the property, maybe they sold some rights or an easement on their property, so obviously that's not a full market sale of a property. So the assessor goes through and does the analysis first to clean up the sales and make sure that all the sales are sales, and then they do analysis on that data. They do statistical analysis that then gives them kind of like that chart we saw, but different. That chart we saw by Case Schiller, where they give you all the data clumping and the line coming through it. The assessor does similar things with cells, so they can see where that clumping occurs, and they create models for that data. So maybe their model says if you're a 3-bedroom with a view and you have 1.5 bath, then the value of their home is estimated to be this. So it's taking all the homes in your geographic neighborhood. The neighborhoods aren't that big for the assessor to do analysis on. Maybe they have Covington and Maple Valley, or I can't remember if they're right next to each other anymore, but those kind of neighborhoods, or maybe just Ballard, they're doing the analysis on Ballard. So then they take those averages for that area and put them together against your property, the characteristics on your property. So if the characteristics are wrong on your property, like in my case, I bought a property with a view, but now over time, the view is not as great as it used to be. And so the assessor still has it as a nicer view than it really is. And so I have got to go in and talk to the assessor and get that view downgraded so that my valuation's not impacted from that view characteristic, because obviously view and waterfront can hugely impact the assessment on your property. So you want to review your characteristics and make sure they're right. And we may have a talk about tax appeals coming up. I haven't got it scheduled yet, but that's one of my ideas for 2023. So
that's a good one. That's very interesting, guys. So what Angelique just said there is you can go challenge your assessment if you think things have changed. And I don't think I would challenge it necessarily if they change to the positive, but you could, I suppose. But if they certainly change to the negative, yeah, challenge that assessment, reduce your taxes.
Yeah, a lot of people will show up right before they sell a house. They'll show up and go, "Oh, my house really has 3 bathrooms, not just one." And so they want that on the tax data before they sell their property.
Linda wants to clarify, so they don't use national numbers in their analysis, it's only local numbers for the assessor, is that correct?
Yeah, the assessor, especially in King County, I don't know about other areas, but obviously King County has so many cells that they can use just pretty much the neighborhood numbers.
Okay. All right, last question for you that I have, Angelique. You're speaking to a beginning real estate investor. They're just excited. They're not quite sure where to start. You're sitting down at Starbucks. They're buying you a cup of tea or coffee, whatever your choice is. And they say, what is the best advice you could give me, Angelique? What do you tell them?
Well, I think somebody starting out should take advantage of the FHA programs out there. Although you can advise me on this, FHA's mortgage insurance has gotten a lot higher these days. So maybe they're not the best, most competitive one anymore. What would you say on that?
Well, it depends. There are some really good first-time home buyer programs, and Angelique's right on. The very first thing you should focus on if you don't own a home is getting a home, and owner occupied is the cheapest, and also, well, cheapest in rate, and also the lowest down payment. FHA is very, very forgiving on credit. So if your credit score is stellar, you'll probably look at a first-time home buyer program, which with Fannie Mae, which is a 3% down payment, and that's pretty low, right? There are also down payment assistance programs that can help you with the down payment if you don't have the down payment. And if credit score is a challenge, which means in the mid 600s or below, FHA is very forgiving and the interest rate is great compared to conventional. You get hit pretty hard on conventional with lower credit scores. And then, yeah, the mortgage insurance is there. But what happens over time, 3, 4, 5 years later, you refinance with all that equity, get rid of the MI when rates are favorable to you, and then you have that loan, and you've been able to take advantage of all that equity in the home over that time to get to there.
All right. So my point is to then, if you want to use one of these programs John just mentioned, but then go look for a small multifamily property, because if it's 4 units or less, then you can qualify just like it's a single family home. The difference is that's huge advantage to you is you get to use those rents from those other units to actually count towards your income. So John will tell us a little about that. How does that work?
And see, that's a very good point you bring up. And Fannie has changed its stance, and Freddie as well, in the last year or 2 or 3. I don't know exactly when, but for multifamily, which is anything greater than 1 unit, they require a larger down payment now than they used to. As much as 15% down, I believe, for a duplex right now, and 20% or more for an owner-occupied home. I'm talking about here if it's a triplex or fourplex. Whereas you go to FHA and you still have a 3.5% down payment, and Angelique's exactly right. We'll use the rent from the units that you're going to rent out as qualifying income. There's a calculation for that, but we'll go through that for your situation. But it's additional income you can use to qualify for the home.
So a lot of people don't realize they get to count that income from the other units to actually qualify for the property. So if you're at a place where you can live in a smaller place, because a lot of multifamily are huge units, or you keep shopping for a multifamily that does have a larger owner area unit. So that I did that. I kept shopping until I found like a 1,500 square foot place, on my side, which works fine for me. And so that is the best way to get your foot in the door with the most property you can get early on. And then you grow your equity like John was describing, and hopefully save some money through one process or another, and then keep going for more property. Rental arbitrage for Airbnb is another strategy you can get in with low amount of money. And then wholesaling, everybody out there almost that talks about real estate talks about wholesaling as your way to get in with lower amount of money. I feel like there's one other strategy that's pretty good on low funds, but I'm not thinking of it right now. So
that's pretty good stuff already, Angelique. So that's going to lead us into the conversation. I'm going to invite Angelique back. We'll have to get her back here on that matrix that she showed a couple, 3 slides before the end, because it leads into all that kind of stuff. It's a much deeper conversation than we can have right now. Let me check, see if there's any other questions. I don't see any in the chat box right now, Angelique. Hey, I want to thank you for taking time. Go ahead.
I did just think of it, house hacking, the term house hacking. Yeah, when I started out, it was getting roommates, and now they call it house hacking.
Yes.
And so you can either have roommates within the area you live in, or you could get a split level home that maybe has an upstairs where you live and rent out the basement. I did that for a long time in a split and a try when I was really young. So that makes a huge difference for your life, because at the time I was renting my basement for $1,200 a month, and I was able to save $1,200 a month. So guess what? If I didn't rent that basement, I wouldn't be saving any money, right? So that makes a huge impact on what you're able to do for the long run.
It's huge. When I bought my first house, I was in Spokane, Washington. I was working, but I was also going to school, and I met some guys at school, and I rented out 2 rooms upstairs, and I lived downstairs, and they almost paid my full mortgage. It was great. As long as I had cable TV for these guys, I didn't sell that house. I rented that house, moved to another one. Same couple guys followed me over to that house and kept paying the rent or paying the mortgage for me. It was great. However, the however on this is when you have roommate income, it's not qualifying income for the home. You do need to be able to qualify for the purchase on your own income. But once they're in there and you do have roommates come in, it sure does help offset that mortgage payment or increase your savings, like Angelique's saying. It's a great way to get some income.
But there is now programs that you can use ADU income towards your income. So how do you
ADUs, that's exactly right.
How do you compare like a split level with a basement that has a door dividing? Is that an ADU or does it have to have an official ADU designation?
Well, I think that depends on the lender at times. I wonder, but an ADU, guys, is an accessory dwelling unit, and it's a living unit connected to your house. It's not officially a duplex on the tax records, but it's another unit. And yeah, if it's another unit and it's permitted, be careful of these things. Then you can potentially use the income from that extra unit for qualifying income. It's quite true. Yeah, good thoughts.
All right.
House hacking. We used to call it renting out rooms to roommates. It's called house hacking these days, guys. Angelique Tinney with Reefs Organization, also accomplished real estate investor yourself. Thanks for joining us today on our webinar. We really appreciate it, Angelique.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the comments down below. Thank you, Angelique and John. Priceless info. Enjoy today. Thank you so much, Dahlia. Appreciate it. Thanks, Angelique. We'll be chatting later.
All right. Yeah, actually, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, you probably will, but guess what? I'm working on a house tomorrow, so maybe not. It just popped up. My contractor buddy said I can do it tomorrow, and I said, "Oh man!" So I will probably be working on the house tomorrow.
All right, good to know.
That's what you do. All right, thanks, Angelique. See ya.
See ya. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.